Welcome, everybody, to the Sober Life Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jones. I want to thank you for taking a little time to sit with me, talk about things like mental health, addiction, and most importantly, talk about the solutions, not just talk about the problems. So I hope you have your cup of coffee and you're ready to sit back. I got a great guest. But before we start, just a quick reminder, take a moment, like the show, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to share it with your friends. It means a lot to me if you could do that. And again, I hope you are all out there. I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking to somebody from, first of all, Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health System, which is actually located in Kentucky. But this person, my business partner, Karen, knows this person, and we have set up. We're going to be doing some work with them in the future and everything. And as I read about them, I found out all of the things that they are doing. And they're doing a lot of things in their behavioral health system that a lot of people talk about doing, but they're actually getting it done. And you know what? It's just easier for me to bring Leslie in so we can talk about it together. So, everybody, this is Leslie Davis, and she is the director of business development at Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health. Leslie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm glad to be here and excited to share with you all.
I just I love that. First of all, I love the accent from Kentucky. It's just I love that. I'm used to being around New Yorkers, so it's such a nice accent. I do love.
Yeah,
But
it's a
I'm
little bit different.
yeah, I no, it's beautiful. I love that that you guys do what you do there, and there's so much we're going to talk about. I want to tell everybody that if we go a little too fast, if we skip over something, contact Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health. They'll answer your questions. The only question that's a bad question is the one that you keep to yourself and you don't ask. So make sure you give them a shout. You can go to their website at lincolnbehavioral.com. Very simple. Make sure you check out what they're talking about. But first of all, Leslie, let's talk about Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health. This is not something that's a brand new system or something. It's been around improving itself for how long now?
We've been in business for 40 years this year. So we opened the doors in 1986.
Wow. Now, for a
Yeah.
place to survive, there's a handful of them, but there's not many that have
Mhm.
actually survived 40 years in the mental health and substance abuse area. A lot of people over that 40 years, you've probably seen a lot of open and closing and shutting down and everything else. Why is it that they're so successful to stay open for 40 years?
So we are part of a larger corporation. So that's important to know because we gather information and best practices from across the world because we're part of UHS Incorporation. And so I think that that helps us. We are all our individual hospitals, but because we're part of a larger corporation, we can gather information and find things that work and things that don't work, um, that just help us succeed. We also have a passion like no other. I can't speak for any other UHS facility, but I think if you ever have the opportunity to come to Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health System, no matter what capacity you come in, I think you will see that all of our staff members are very passionate. Um, we thrive on a culture of caring, and I think that that has helped us. Like we don't ever want someone to have to come back to our facility, but if you ever find yourself in need of coming back, you will see that um, we do have people that come back to us, that want to come to us whenever they relapse or they, you know, go off their medication for whatever reason, and they find themselves in a crisis and they need that help. um, we have developed a culture that people want to come back to. They're comfortable with us, and I think that that speaks a high volume.
It does. It does speak a lot because I know there are companies out there. Again, I don't sugarcoat it, but I'm not attacking anybody in particular. But there's
Hmm.
a lot of places out there that count on repeat business as part of their
Hmm.
business model. Now
Yes.
you're saying we're there for you, but that's not what our goal is. Our goal is one and done, right?
Right. The goal is when you come in, you will meet with the treatment team. It's very hands-on, it's very individualized. So you will You will come in, you will meet with your physician, your therapist, your case manager, all the people, your nurse, your charge nurse. They will all be sitting at the table with you. You will develop a list of your goals that you have for treatment, and then we will work with you to develop a individualized personal treatment plan that you feel like you can be successful with. We want to set you up for success. So that's, we feel like it's very important that you are part of that process. And then we make sure before you ever discharge with us that you have a discharge plan that you're comfortable with, that we're comfortable with, and you have that step down to the next level of care. So it's not like you're with us for a certain amount of time and you receive treatment and then we throw you out the door and, hope that you come back to us. That's not how we're set up. We want you to step down and be successful.
That's so important because to truly help somebody, you have to individually look at their situation, their personality, whether their mental health, everything, whether you're dealing with substance abuse or a mental health issue, to bring them in that early on the process, to sit there and say, you're going to help us design how we're going to do this. Do you see that as being really effective for your clients?
I do. I think it's more effective for those who really want the treatment. But I do think that they have a buy-in. So it's not like they can say, you made me do XYZ and I don't want to do that. Or you prescribed me this medication and I don't even know what that is. They know everything up front from the beginning. So if you're prescribed something and you're not sure about it, I have this going on right now on the unit, so that's why I'm using it as an example. But we pull in, our providers, and we sit down and we say, this is why you were prescribed this, and this is why, or what we feel like this will do to help you, and these are the common side effects, and these are some other options. And we'll kind of talk through that situation, and it's that way with everything, even, with your therapy groups, or your individual therapy workbooks. If it's something that you're not connecting with, we have other options. So I feel like they have the buy-in if they want it. And so we try very hard for them to find success, and we meet them where they're at.
I think it's wonderful. And it seems like something that everybody should be doing, but really people don't. There's a lot of cookie cutter approaches to,
Right.
You come in, we're going to make you do this, 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 and this, then you're going to leave. But there's no individual, as you said, buy-in or skin in the game, if you will. So that's so important that you guys do that, especially since you guys get into areas that a lot of other people, they've either dipped their toe in, but they haven't gone all the way in. But you have gone all the way in areas of military, first responders, even adolescents. And let's start with that and talk about what you do for adolescents and, what kind of things do you treat in your adolescent units?
So we have 7 units across our hospital. We have 2 acute adolescent units, 1 male, 1 female. So those are for your kiddos who are currently in crisis. That's a shorter length of stay. It's really just to stabilize them. We have the same for adult population, for the acute population, for mental health and substance use. And then we have 2 units that are specialty programs for adolescent females. One of those is our Willows program. There's nothing like it that I know of across the U.S. We've had our Willows program for 26 years, and it is a program for adolescent females who've experienced trauma. Oftentimes that's sexual trauma, not always. It can be emotional or physical trauma. But I would say the big bulk of girls on that unit have had some type of sexual trauma. That is a longer length of stay. They're with us anywhere from 9 months to a year. It's very individualized as well. A lot of times they're with us for their birthdays and Christmas, and it's just a very special unit. We average about 30 girls on that unit, and we often have a wait list for that unit as well. Huge need for that population. Then we also have a program called the Lotus unit. It's been around for 2 years, and it's for girls ages 9 to 17 who need further stabilization. So they've had multiple acute stays in the last year, but just can't get stable enough. They're like in that revolving door of acute hospital stays. So they'll come stay with us. It's based on a 16-week workbook. Not saying that they're always with us for 16 weeks. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer. That is also very individualized. So a lot of times you'll see girls who have chronic self-harm or a revolving door of suicide ideation. Some of them have had trauma, but they're too acute to dig into the trauma. So the Lotus is really focused on stabilizing them. And then we have our military first responder unit. We've had that unit for over 20 years. Our medical director oversees that unit, and he's been with us the entire time. We're very familiar with the military formulary. We're right outside of Fort Knox, so we get a quite a bit of active duty from Kentucky market, but also across the U.S., specifically the East Coast. But we've gotten soldiers and military active duty who've been overseas. So on our military unit, first responder unit, we deal with lots of different issues. A lot of times that's trauma. You know, our active duty soldiers and even our veterans and first responders have experienced lots of different types of trauma. Oftentimes that's combat trauma, PTSD for, you know, lots of different things. We have first responders and even active duty who have done like medevacs or EMS runs that have seen horrific things, that they just have created PTSD and they really suffer. It really impacts their daily life, their sleep patterns, all different things. So we dig into that and we work with them. We meet them where they're at and try to work through that trauma so that they can not forget it, but move past it and have regained some type of normalcy to their everyday life.
Well, absolutely. And trauma is certainly a fuel for mental health issues. Trauma is fuel for addiction issues, and so many things. And if you're not willing to address that trauma, and understanding that you can only do so much with so much time, you need to set them up into a pattern of they can go forward and take care of themselves and or continue help outside of treatment. Do you guys think about that as well? Is that part of what you do?
Yeah, we do. So when they leave, they have a plan of what they're going to do. They find coping skills that work for them. We work through lots of different things, breathing techniques, all sorts of coping skills that could fit into their everyday life. And then they have that discharge plan when they leave. They know where they can go if things get tough. They have a step down plan. They're going to continue their treatment outside of our hospital walls. And so I think we're focused on building that foundation for them to be successful.
Excellent. Now, we're just going to go back for a second because I want to take each one of these things apart a little bit. The first off with the adolescents, I think the programs are brilliant. Yes, our young ladies and young men out there go through an extreme amount of trauma. They go through an extreme amount of pain and suffering. There's a lot of things that are happening. I think it gets overlooked sometimes because we believe the kids are so resilient, they're going to be fine.
Right.
And I think that's why we don't see the numbers as far as treatment options for adolescents. I applaud you guys for doing that. There's so many that say, I'd love to do it, but it's so hard working with kids. Are there unique challenges to working with adolescents that you've seen?
There are. So there's lots of behavior issues, lots of acting out. That's something that we do really well here. Just finding that if they're able at a young age to find those coping mechanisms, they're going to be more successful. So, you know, I feel like our whole hospital as a whole, when we're talking about adolescence all the way through adulthood, that's something that we focus on is being able to build that foundation learning how to recognize I'm stressed, I am overwhelmed, I have all these negative thoughts. How can I cope with that? And how can
Mm.
I in a healthy way, take a deep breath and say, what do I have control over? And how can I fix this? And who can I go to for help when I can't do it on my own?
That's like an extra level that gets added on there. Not only are
Hmm.
you trying to transition them into a healthy person, but they're
Right,
transitioning from child to adult at the same time. And that's a lot to
right.
handle.
Hmm.
I could imagine that you have to have highly trained staff to be able to deal with these things. Just not anybody can just go in and do therapy on an adolescent or do that. I assume the staff, it's very important who you hire and who you have working there, isn't it?
Yes. So all of our clinicians are licensed clinicians. We have several mental health nurse practitioners that work with each of our units as well. They have uh, licensed nursing, they have mental health techs that we train for our programs specifically. And then if they don't have whatever type of training that each unit needs, then we get them the training that they need. So if they need an extra certificate added on, or extra training for first responders, or EMDR training, we make sure that all of our clinicians have whatever it is for the specific unit that they're working on.
And you just mentioned it, special training for first responders
Hmm.
and military veterans. Um, you also need to train your people to have an understanding of what those positions really mean,
Yes,
because it can be very, if you don't have somebody that's vetted properly treating them, they could actually exacerbate problems without knowing it because they don't understand the job. So you guys
right.
have to do that, right?
Right. So we, like I mentioned before, we're located right outside of Fort Knox. We have a huge population of retired military, also military family members. So our military program manager, she's actually, her father was in the military. She traveled a lot she grew up in the military basically. Um, all of them that work on that unit have a deep understanding of that military first responder culture, and recognize, what the stresses are that they go through, and also a lot of the ways that they can cover those up. So a lot of times they don't want to ask for help. They want to kind of laugh things off. And so that unit, all of the staff there, they understand that and kind of know what to look for.
Yeah, it's so important. There's a lot of people that'll slap a label on something and say,
Mhm.
we do first responders, we do vets, we do, but they don't have the staff with the right understanding to actually do that. So it's important that
Right.
you guys do that and that you're
Mhm.
so immersed in it. I got to imagine I've been working in the industry for about 40 years now, in different capacities with treatment and other things in counseling. I never had the opportunity to work with adolescents, and I know you're not in there doing the actual therapy work with them, but you're a part of the whole process.
Mhm.
Is there something that you personally kind of get from that to see them change and go through all of that, especially as adolescents?
So the biggest thing for me on our adolescent unit, a lot of those kids just want to feel loved. They want to feel heard. They want to be acknowledged. And when they start getting that through group therapy, individual therapy, they connect with other kids who have maybe not been in the same situation. They understand that everybody doesn't have a perfect life. I think that really hits home for me, just because they're in a situation where they get that, um, I guess, one-on-one attention that they don't always get at home, and they feel heard.
Does that have an impact on you personally when you see those things happen, when you see people change, or that just to be a part of the whole thing?
It does. So I just keep thinking back to this one kid on our unit. So I'm not on the unit every day, but I'm back there a lot. And I do administrator on call duties every 6 weeks. So during those weeks, I'm on the unit a lot. We had an individual kiddo. He was going through, like, his mother gave up her rights for him, and he was just really struggling with a lot of mental health issues. And he really just needed somebody to talk to him. Um, and he was obsessed with origami. So he made me, like, I just sat and spent some time with him. We talked about cooking, and he made me a little origami crown. And I have it on my bookshelf in my office just to kind of remind me of, hey, I have two kids of my own, and I go home every night and I tuck them in and I tell them I love them and I make sure, that they have food on the table. But not every kid is that lucky. And so it's just a good reminder. Um, People always say, you should be kind. You don't know what everybody's going through. And it's the truth. And even the kids who are, being the most disruptive, like, those are the kids who, it just break my heart, because a lot of times they don't have that love and that they don't feel heard. And so, I mean, it's a huge impact for me. And I always, remind my kids, you're lucky, you're blessed, but not every kid is. And just, start the early, like, with the non-judgment and being kind and, all the things that people talk about, but they don't always practice. Working here and seeing those individuals on a daily basis, like, it really shows the impact that bullies at school can have on an individual. And so I think that's important. It's very much eye-opening.
Absolutely. And at the other end of the spectrum, you've got our first responders and our military,
Mm-hmm.
our veterans, um, who have been, again, traumatized, either one trauma or a complex series of traumas. There's a lot of different things that can happen there. And you could see some great change in those too. And to be a part of that solution, I imagine, feels just as good too, right?
Mm-hmm. It does. Um, I have active duty soldiers who are really struggling with some PTSD. I have a couple on the unit right now that I just talked to this morning, and just, they want the help. They are
Yeah.
ready to, get their life back. And it's very rewarding at the end of their time here for them to be able to leave with a plan and coping skills, and just feel like they're not, one of them had an attempt. One of them had a plan. Thankfully, he didn't follow through with it. And for them to be able to walk out and feel like that they've gotten back a portion of their life, and they have those coping skills, they have a plan, they feel more comfortable asking for help, it gives me cold chills. It really does.
It is absolutely amazing. And before we went on the air, you and I had talked, and we had mentioned you had come from, we'll call it the private sector, away from treatment and everything else. But
Right.
you've been doing this for a little while now, and certainly it sounds like you are fully in with your head, your
Hmm.
heart, and all of your soul.
Hmm.
It sounds like it. I got to ask, are there things that shocked you about working in this world, or that you've seen that people suffer? Are there things where you've said, wow, I never saw that before?
Honestly, the biggest shock for me, so it's behavioral health, but I didn't realize that behavioral health was what I grew up knowing as a psychiatric hospital. And so then when I realized that it's one and the same, it's nothing like what the movies show. At least here at Lincoln Trail, it's not. We are seclusion free. We don't put people in padded rooms. We don't have people strapped to beds. Um, it's very much like a college dorm, or camp, for lack of better words. Um, we are a locked facility, but our patients come off of their units for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They go to the eatery. We have a gym, we have an art room. Our first responder and our adolescent longer term programs leave the hospitals for lots of different field trips, for lack of better words. But like we take our active duty to get their hair cut. Sometimes we'll take them bowling, just to kind of interact them in everyday life outside of the hospital setting, so that they can put some of those coping skills to use outside of the hospital setting. I think that's the biggest shock for me, is that it was nothing like what I thought it was going to be, for the better, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
I think more people need to see that it's not about the lockdown wards and the straight jackets and the padded rooms. And
Right.
it's about treating people with decency and caring and kindness and love and all those things. That's the key to healing. Healing is not separation, isolation, or punishment. That's not healing. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's really important. Of course, there are many easier ways for you to make a living. Why do you want to do this?
So I know a lot of people will say that they do things because they want to help people. And for me, I do have a passion for helping people. When I look back at my working career, every job I've had is helping people. I feel like with this job, I'm able to make a stronger impact on people's lives. I often meet them when they are at the absolute lowest that they can go. And just to be able to see them accept that they need help and to come into our facility and get the tools that they need to be successful in life and to change the path that they're on, is why I get up in the morning. It's why I answer my phone at 3:00 in the morning when I have someone who needs help and needs to know how to get the help to move forward.
Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to bring up once again, you had mentioned you're part of a larger system. And in some cases, that's a detriment because everything becomes very generic throughout the system. But it sounds to me like everybody's gathering and sharing information and you're trying new things and you all work together to improve, not just to maintain status quo. Is that accurate?
I would say yes. So our CEO and our leadership team at each hospital runs their hospital. In Kentucky, we each have our own, what's the word I'm looking for? In Kentucky, we each have our own programs that, I'm not saying this right.
It's like a niche.
We do. So in Kentucky, each of our hospitals have their own niche, and we learn from each other. So we specialize in military, first responders, and adolescent females. While we can help all acute, all of the sister facilities in Kentucky, they help all acute patients. But like our facility in Bowling Green, Kentucky, they specialize in adolescent males. So while we don't have that programming for adolescent males, our sister facility does. So we kind of borrow ideas that work from each of us, and it might not be exactly the same. So what works for the male patient might not work for the female patients, but we can say, hey, I like that idea. I'm going to adapt it to fit our programs.
I love that. And it also gives you, I assume, the opportunity that if somebody is a better fit for one of the other programs, you guys can do that. And it still ends up being about client-centered, client first. And that's so important. That is so important. Listen, Leslie, I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. I want people to check it out. They can go to LincolnBehavioralHealth.com, or sorry, just LincolnBehavioral.com. And they made it very simple. LincolnBehavioral.com. Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health System in Kentucky is a beautiful place. You want to check it out. Ask questions, call people, just find out what's going on. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I encourage people, don't just believe. I mean, anybody can build a beautiful website and put ads on it and make it look pretty and take pictures and do all of that. But talking to the people is really where it's at when it comes to finding a good place, right?
Right. Yeah. So honestly, our website's not that pretty, I don't think. But our facility is actually, it's beautiful, and we have people that care, and you can call and talk to any of us at any time.
That's so important. Whether you're dealing with somebody with simply an acute mental health issue or a substance abuse issue, an adolescent, a first responder, military active or veteran, or anything in between, this is a good place to call because they have access to so much information that a lot of places that are a little bit smaller can't have access to. So that gives you a great advantage in helping people. And if you need to know about insurance, you call and find out about all of that and everything. But Leslie, I'm going to say there's somebody sitting home right now. They're watching this, and their brother or sister, mother or father is struggling. Maybe their uncle is a police officer and the whole family knows he's having some trouble. What kind of advice do you want to give to those people who are watching that and they just don't know what to do?
I think just reach out, have those conversations. I know a lot of departments have peer support. We work very closely with them. I think, what is it that's holding you back from asking for help? And then have those conversations with a friend or call us. We'll be glad to talk through those. I know with the first responders, a lot of times they're worried about being mixed in with other patients and possibly running into somebody they might know, or we have taken all of that into consideration. So I assure you, if there is something holding you back from getting the help that you need, let's talk through it. And I'll be glad if it's not a good fit for us. I will help you. Our team will help you find that fit for you. So I'm not saying that you have to come to Lincoln Trail. Of course, I would love for you to come to Lincoln Trail, but we're here to help the people. And if that's not with us, then we'll help you find what is.
And I think it's important to share with people that if they make a phone call, because some parents don't want to talk about what's going on with their kids because they don't want everybody to know. And obviously, police officers, firefighters, they don't want to lose their spot at the station. Military vets or active military, they're afraid of what might. Listen, the call is confidential. If you just want to ask questions, nobody's turning anybody in, nobody's getting in trouble. But you can have that private conversation and then decide. But have that conversation, right?
Right. The first step is just asking for help or asking for more information.
Absolutely. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So
right.
I recommend you check it out again, lincolnbehavioral.com, if you want to learn more about the facility. But more importantly, look at it, read what's on the website, but then give them a call and talk to them. Leslie, I know you're probably busy. You got a lot of work to do. You got a call from the car because you're probably too busy in the office, right?
Yes.
No, I do appreciate you taking the time. And I know that One Brother, One Sister, we're going to be working with you guys up there and doing some training and doing some other things coming up. And so we look forward to being a part of everything you're doing up there. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we can't wait. Thank you all.
Awesome. All right. For everyone here at the Sober Life Studios, One Brother, One Sister sponsors this show. This is Sober Life Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jones. I want to thank Leslie Davis for joining us. And all of you out there, remember every day, do 2 nice things for yourself, 1 nice thing for somebody else, and you're never going to go wrong. Everyone take care. We'll catch you next time.